Hello, my name is Zachary Seckman. I'm currently a music education undergraduate here at Kansas State University. This is my final video project for my EDSEC 310 class, Foundations of Education. And what I want to be talking about in this video today is should teachers act as a change agent? Should we teachers teach for change? And I agree with that. I agree that teachers should not be teaching things that have been already discovered or things that have been going on in the past. Rather, that we should be changing, we should be teaching for change in an ever evolving world, an ever changing society that we live in nowadays. And I believe that students should be able to learn how to adapt and connect with this change, both individually and as a society. Should teachers teach for change? I agree. Currently, our American education system, we teachers are only passing along information. Basically, we're seen as these godly light people who have all the knowledge and all the power in the world, and therefore we're going to pour all of this knowledge into our students' heads, so to speak. But I think that's wrong. I think it should be more of a thing to where students find out information on their own. Teachers give the students the tools so that the students can find out this information for themselves. It shouldn't really be, well, I'm the teacher, I'm going to give you this information, and then on the test I want you to regurgitate this information back to me so that I know that you are learning it, because not everyone learns that way. And also, because we're teaching a lot of stuff that has already happened or stuff that has a relevance in the past, it's not really interesting to students nowadays. In fact, our current system says that we need to have students learn at this certain level, this certain time, and they need to be proficient at it in, this stage of their life, as a group with their peers at the same age and everything. And obviously it worked several decades ago, but it's not working now, and so therefore we need to find a way to where we can teach our students how to change this, how they can adapt to be in this ever-changing world. But unfortunately, the standards in this curricula that has been set is not by teachers in the classrooms or the students experiencing all this education. It's policymakers, it's decision makers, it's politicians and all that. And these are the people who are not actively in the classroom like us teachers and students are. They're the ones out on the outside realm, if you will, who aren't really seeing what's going on in the classroom, and therefore, since they have the power to make these decisions, they are missing the target, and they're not really gauging what we need to see in education to adapt to our ever-changing world. According to Dr. Heidi Hayes Jacobs, in one of her videos, one of her TED Talks, she says that we are currently preparing kids today in 2014 for 1982. That's almost 30 years ago. That's a little over 30 years ago. And that's not helping. The fact that we have fallen in terms of our place in the world as far as education goes, that's why we have fallen in the ranks, because we are stuck in the system where okay, you need to be at these standards, you need to meet these standards now, you need to meet these standards now, and you need to meet these standards now. That's obviously not working, and we need to create something that's changing. Unfortunately, we can't create this change at the large level. We have to create it more at a smaller community level, if you will. In fact, a lot of this current education models and everything, Sir Ken Edwards says that we are currently teaching kids with an industrial era in mind, saying that you need to know this in math, this in science, this in reading and this in writing, which it worked back in the early 20th century, but it's, like I said, it's not working now. And my big ideal here is that if we can start, if us teachers can get together and start teaching our students change, how to deal with it, how to adapt with it, in order to be able to live in this, to be able to compete in this changing society, then we can start to grow a change in education. And we can't just reform and tweak the current model that we have. We have to completely bulldoze it and start anew with something, because our current system is obviously not working. Right now, we have this system of education that's pretty narrow and concrete. It doesn't really have a lot of flexibility in it, and I think if we move towards a system that has flexibility in it, then we can allow students to be themselves, learn at their own pace, and things like that. In doing so, we can also teach them to be able to be ready for change and adapt with that change as well. One of the things when I was doing research that I found from Dr. Jacobs again was this idea called live books. Instead of a hard copy printed textbook that is outdated the month after it's published, these live books are basically on tablets, and as soon as information is updated, a teacher or whoever has the power updates the textbook, and then the information is sent to these live books, and students have the information just like that in their textbook. And that's just one of the ways that we can start moving towards this ability to change and learn to adapt with this change. And in doing so, once us teachers start teaching how to deal with change, then that's how we become these agents of change. With his debate against Ken Ham, Bill Nye the Science Guy, as he's referred to, on February 4th, said that we need to innovate in education so that the United States can stay where it's at in the world. That's not talking about, well, we need to be able to meet these standards, we need to be able to teach this curricula, we need to be able to create something to where we can keep our place in the world, educationally, industrially, economically. That way we can stay on top and be ready for job markets, the economy, education, and things like that. In doing so, if we are able to innovate, then we can create the system of change in education. And by learning how to adapt with this change and everything, then we can really start to amp it up and be on top of what's new, what's the latest, and what's the greatest, in all aspects of what's going on in our world. On top of what Bill Nye said, I found this in the United States Constitution from Article 1, Section 8, and I quote, to promote the progress of science and useful arts. This comes directly from the Constitution of the United States, and it bothers me because we have this proof. We have, these documents. One of our, nation's greatest documents is saying that we need to promote progress. Bill Nye is saying we need to innovate. We've got this proof, and we have the need for it, but nothing is changing, and it's something that's been biting my butt recently. We have the need, we have the demand, but nothing is being done to fill it. If we keep tweaking and reworking this current system of education that we have, we're going to keep falling, and things are going to fall apart. That is not good. That is not good for the American system. Since we have this, these opportunities for education to start this change, then we can really start an educational evolution here in America. We can start this by by creating classrooms that are not, I'm the teacher, you're the student, you will learn from me, but it is more of a collaboration. Teachers and students seen as equals, and they work together. In fact, I've seen in a lot of classrooms, some that I've observed, some that I've been in myself, where the teachers say, okay, I will help you, but you are the students, you decide, what do you want to learn, how do you want to learn this, and it really becomes, instead of the teacher in charge, the students are really in charge, within reason, of course. But if we can start this at a smaller level, and if it can grow, if we can nurture it and make it grow and spread, then we can start this change within our system. And then people will see how well it will work, and they will say, wow, we do have this need, and this is how we can start filling it. And in fact, I think all systems of education should adapt a policy of where morally putting the students in charge. Because when you put the students in charge, then they say, okay, yes, I want to learn this because this is relevant to me. I don't want to learn this because it really has nothing to do with me or what's going to be happening in the future. And I think that's really what schools should be going towards. We need to move out of this system that was great for the Industrial Revolution, but change it to where we don't have this solid concrete system again. We need to be able to be flexible in order to move into the future. In fact, there are some places around the world that have already adopted this system of students being in charge. I believe it was Summerhill, across the pond over in the UK, where basically kids got to learn what they want and when they want it. And I think that's great. Instead of kids being bored to death in the classroom, it brings alive this notion of, well, the kids are in charge. Another point by Sir Ken Robinson is that as we have increased standards, and as we introduce more of these standardized tests, the level of ADHD prescriptions and things like that have risen along with it. And what's happening is that when we have these standards that kids need to meet, which were fine back in the Industrial Revolution, 1982, that was great. But because of how society has changed just within the last 30 years, even, kids are being more stimulated by, electronics, advertisements, video games, and things like that. And so teachers think, okay, these kids, education leaders think, okay, these kids are being, they're not paying attention in class, and so therefore they must have some disorder. It's not that, it's just that they're being bored to death by what's being taught because of these standards. And so therefore, if we move towards a model to where students will learn what they want, then we can introduce more of this flexibility into our education. In fact, one of the great education websites that I've visited many times myself is the Khan Academy, where they have these video lessons on almost every subject. That way students can go back, take notes, listen, whatever they need to do in order to learn and pick up some information that they may not need or they may not want to know. I know this is going against a lot of what education wants, but we are going into this system to where we're going into this time where our education is not working, and we need to tear it down and build a new system of education. And so therefore, I think if we start this social change at a smaller level, in classrooms and in communities, then we can grow. And that is how I believe that teachers can teach change.